Hey, are you curious to know what it was like here at RSNA24 from a marketing perspective? Well, wonder no longer. I'm here to tell you that there were 3 things here at RSNA24 in Chicago, Illinois that were a pleasant surprise. The use of negative space, the lack of tchotchkes, and the smart use of color. Let's get into it.
Swaay.Health.
Hello, I'm Colin Ung, and I'm here in Chicago, Illinois, where I have been attending the annual RSNA conference. This is one of the largest events on the healthcare conference circuit. This year, there were just over 40,000 attendees, which is about 6,000 more than last year. If you have never been to this conference, just know it's all about radiology and imaging here. One of the most unique things about this conference is the technical exhibit hall, which is on both sides of me here. And that's where you'll find full-size MRI machines, X-rays, ultrasounds, and even mobile imaging centers. And those have to be wheeled in here with a semi-truck. This is one of the only conferences that uses modeling talent, but not in the way that you think. All the models here are employed to play the role of patients, and they have to sit or lie down in mock exam rooms where technicians use ultrasound machines and other imaging devices, or even push them into MRIs to showcase the usefulness of those products. Now, what was I most surprised about at RSNA24 from a marketing perspective? Well, I have to say that the biggest surprise was the lack of tchotchkes. I remember coming to RSNA 10 years ago, and everyone had different trinkets and giveaways. I remember taking a big bag of this stuff back to the company I was with at the time. This year, you barely saw anything. Sure, there were some pens and some notebooks and power banks and even a few water bottles, but most booths didn't have anything of the type. And I think that's a good thing. Cheap tchotchkes often end up in the trash, so handing out fewer of these, but maybe more meaningful giveaways instead, means you have less environmental impact. And frankly, that saves a lot of marketing budget as well. What most booths had instead was food as a giveaway, or more specifically, coffee. I lost count after I reached 100 booths that had some sort of coffee station where visitors could get a cup of joe. Some had full-on baristas where you could get a flat white or an espresso. The most impressive, though, was the coffee experience display at Abadox. They had a display that was made up of nothing but Nespresso coffee capsules, and it was really colorful, and it gave their booth a rather calming and homey feel. You definitely could not complain about the lack of caffeine here at RSNA24. I was, however, genuinely disappointed that I didn't see a single booth giving away Garrett's popcorn. I mean, after all, Garrett's is a Chicago staple, and usually there are at least a handful of booths that are handing this out. See what I did there? But no, truly, in the past, this was a staple, but it wasn't here at Chicago's RSNA24. So sadly, I didn't get any here at the conference, so I had to pick some up myself at the Garrett's near my hotel room. Full disclosure, Garrett's is not a sponsor of this video, but if anyone from Garrett's is watching this and would like to sponsor us, we do accept payment in tins of popcorn. Now, another thing that surprised me about the exhibit hall here at RSNA24 was the effective use of negative space. When you're putting your latest MRI or ultrasound device on display, you don't want to crowd it with kiosks or other things. You want the unit to stand out and stand alone. So everyone here who had a device to showcase left a lot of space around it for visitors to walk past, walk around it, take pictures, or just to appreciate it in isolation. So even though the exhibit hall was very busy, you never got the sense of being crowded or jammed into a booth. There was always space. And the same thing could actually be said about the overall layout of the exhibit hall. The aisles here at RSNA24 were really wide, and there were lots of places where you could just sit and have a conversation. Smartly, there were many places where you could also stop and grab a group picture, like at the RSNA sign over there in the main lobby, and that's right behind me. It was a huge, huge hit once again. There was always a long line of people waiting for their chance to take a photo in front of that RSNA sign. There are no people there right now because I'm recording this kind of late on the final day of RSNA. What was a bit surprising, but also not surprising, was the amount of AI that was on display here. You couldn't walk 10 feet in the exhibit hall and not see a sign or a kiosk that was highlighting some sort of AI feature. Now, this meant that everyone sounded and looked the same. I mean, everywhere I looked, I saw words like streamline workflow, earlier detection, reducing burden, reducing administrative work, eliminating burnout. It was a sea of sameness. And you really had to dig deep to find unique, practical, and proven uses for AI. Now, they were there, but as a booth visitor, you really had your work cut out for you in order to move through all of that noise. I think this is a warning to everyone watching this who is going to be an exhibitor at ViVE in 2025, HIMSS 25, and Health in 2025. Just having AI isn't special anymore. And just talking about the benefits of AI will mean that you'll sound like everybody else. If you truly have something that's proven and useful, you're going to have to find a better way to draw attention to it, because right now, everyone sounds the same. So, who had the most impressive booth here at RSNA24? Well, there were three, in my opinion, that deserve to be called out. But before I reveal who those are, I do want to highlight a few other interesting and impressive booth displays. Data First brought back their race car display, which perfectly matched their black and silver brand colors. The car attracts a lot of attention, and there were a lot of people wanting to take pictures, climbing into the car and getting that racing shot. GE Healthcare had more of their one-way glass displays at their booth. I first saw these impressive displays at their 38 by 30 booth at Health 2024, and there were dozens more in their mega-sized booth here at RSNA24. Philips had a display inside their booth called the Kitten Scanner, which is just about the cutest technology I've ever seen here at RSNA. And here's Brad from Philips to tell you a little bit more about that.
And right here we have our kitten scanner. This is good for children when they come to the hospital. They can actually choose a character, the one that they like. In this case, this is Ollie the elephant. And what they do is they can scan Ollie right here. And they push Ollie through here, and a video will play. It will teach the children how to hold still and how to get through a successful exam.
The Micro X booth had a very cool display of their scanner that is designed for ambulances. They had a cutaway of an ambulance so that you can see right inside. It was very much like what you would see in a science center or a museum. The Med Informatics booth stood out with bold yellow colors. The size of the United Imaging booth caught many by surprise. It was mammoth. This is a company who had a modest-sized booth in 2023, but everyone took notice of their move to a mega booth this year. Highland once again had a beautiful green wall in their booth. It was a nice contrast to all the bright, shiny booths that were around them, and that touch of green made their booth warm and welcoming. The most festive booth was Zootech Partners. They had giant-sized ornaments hanging in their booth, and they had a toy train on a track that went around the perimeter of their booth. All that was missing was Tom Hanks as the conductor. So here are the three most impressive booths at RSNA24. First was the Visage Imaging booth. Their booth featured a bright green theater that instantly caught your eye from down the aisle. You almost needed sunglasses to look at it. On top of that, their mega-sized booth had a very welcoming curve to it, with a central desk in the middle that was full of helpful staff who could walk you to the right person you were trying to meet or to the right demo station. The imagery on their hanging LED sign was very attractive without being too in your face. The colorful Visage Imaging booth stood out amongst the sea of red and blue. Now, the second booth that stood out was Renova's. They had a simple 10 by 20 booth that was bright red. The uniform color scheme really made them noticeable, and it goes to show you that you don't need a giant-sized booth to stand out at a healthcare conference. The third booth that I want to mention is Acumen's. Their booth was very open and space age, which is saying something here because every booth here at RSNA is very modern in design. But the Acumen booth almost had a Tron-like feel to it. Their booth was possibly in the worst position. They were at the very, very back corner of the more unpopular hall here at RSNA. But they showed that just because you're at the back doesn't mean your booth can't stand out. I especially loved how you could walk through their actual mobile imaging center, which was actually going to be delivered to a client right after the conference. And here's Lisa Borg from Acumen to tell us a little bit more about their booth.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the great feedback about our booth. I think one of the constraints that we have when we want to bring in either a mobile trailer or in this case our expandable patient access is that we need to bring it in on a flatbed trailer. And so the show management restricts us as to where we can place our booth. So knowing that, what we've done this year is really try to build a very visually captivating booth design that you can see from the very front of the hall and that draws people to the back, because there's a lot of curiosity around the bright lights and the bright colors that we have, and obviously interest in our new Acumen Access product as well. So I think if you take our theme for this year, which was expanding possibilities and advancing care, that was sort of what we wanted to do with the booth theme as well, right? Like expanding access, making the booth feel accessible from all four corners, even though we had, the large Acumen Access unit taking up a large space in the booth. And so we've got these mini sort of hubs where we have the general meeting room, we have a showcase on Acumen's Radiology Command Center, and then the main Acumen Access unit towards the back, which is also very different from the traditional mobile. If you've taken a tour, which I know you have, you'll see it feels almost like a regular clinic. It doesn't feel like a mobile unit at all.
I want to end by thanking RSNA and the conference organizers. We appreciate being given a press pass so that we could cover this event. It was very educational and the exhibit hall was just amazing. I can't wait to come back again next year to see what's new. And hey, if you enjoyed this video, please mash that like button and click subscribe. Also head over to Swaay.Health, that's Swaay with 2 A's, .health, where you will find more great content like this. I'm Colin Hung here at RSNA24 in Chicago, Illinois. Thanks for being here, and I'll catch you on the next video.